Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome back from our small intermission. My name is Damian Riley Sr., and I am the representative of the University of Southern California's Marshall School of Business, Peter Arkley's Institute for Risk Management. It is my pleasure to introduce our moderator for today's CPCU panel discussion on AI and workforce transformation, Vishal Sankla. Vishal is the co-founder and CEO of Outmarket AI, an innovative AI workflow and data platform tailored specifically for the insurance industry. At Outmarket, Vishal and his team are partnering with some of the industry's largest firms to drive revenue growth, streamline critical workflows, and enhance accuracy, ultimately reducing costly errors and E&O exposures. Before founding Outmarket AI, Vishal served as head of products at Ethos Life, where he played a pivotal role in building profitable customers acquisition channels, developing the underwriting engine, and scaling the agents and partners business. His expertise in product leadership extends to the time and two of the world's most influential companies, Uber and Meta, where he led product teams and contributed to transformative innovations. With his extensive experience at the intersection of technology and insurance, Vishal brings a wealth of knowledge and a forward-thinking perspective on today's discussion. Please join me in welcoming Vishal Sankla as our moderator for this exciting panel on artificial intelligence and workforce transformation. Take it away, Vishal.
Thanks, Damien. Hey, everyone. I'm super excited to moderate this panel today. We'll be talking about one of the biggest shifts in our industry and what we have seen in our careers and how AI is reshaping work across all major industries, including insurance. While AI is getting adoption in enterprises, we are still relying heavily on human judgment and expertise where it matters. We all know that AI is not the silver bullet yet. So today we'll explore how to automate, what must stay human, where can humans get involved, and more importantly, how do we prepare our workflows for this transition? I'm super excited to have some amazing panelists join me for this discussion today. We have Ravi from CRC, we have Rob from Townley Canton, and we have John and Joey from AJ Gallagher. With that, I would love for the panelists to introduce themselves, and then we can kick off the discussion. So Ravi, let's start with you.
Sure. Yeah. Ravi Patel. I'm based out of New Jersey. As Vishal mentioned, I'm with CRC Group. I've been with them for like 17 years, and in the midst of the discussion on how to leverage AI to transform our workflow. To be honest with you, so it's a great segment. To be honest.
Awesome. Rob, do you want to go next? Rob, you're still on mute. You're still on mute.
Damien, can you? Indicating that he can't unmute. There you go.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I was not allowed to unmute. I apologize. It was not a technical issue there. I am Rob Townley. I've got a brokerage in Atlanta, Georgia, and I am also the technology chairperson for the Georgia Big I as well. So I've been around a lot of the insurtechs and AI stuff going on for a few years now.
Awesome. John, do you want to introduce yourself? Yeah.
Sure. I'm John Dornberg. I'm part of Gallagher's National Cyber Practice. I'm based in Boston, and I've been focused on cyber insurance and risk management for the last 15 years. Several lifetimes ago, I was a corporate lawyer for over a decade.
Excited to have you, yeah. Joey?
Yep, sure. I'm Joey Sylvester. I work with John at the cyber practice with Gallagher. I've been focused on cyber for the better part of a decade now. I think 13 years now at Gallagher. And of course, I've maintained a keen interest in AI ever since it was unleashed upon us all. And I think it was November of 22 and then into the early hours of 23. I'm an AI governance professional, highly focused on advising clients on appropriate risk management and governance strategies for managing the risk of harm that could emanate from the use of AI. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, let's kick off this discussion. I would love to sort of start with understanding like where are you all seeing AI deliver the most tangible value in the insurance lifecycle today? I would love to kind of see from your experiences, where are you seeing the biggest value come from? So Rob, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah. So I'm coming from the insurance agency brokerage side, so the retail side. And it's been, especially in the past 12 months, a giant leap forward from where we saw everyone dipping their toe in the water previously, especially the previous year, testing it out, but not really having the systems and products that were ready for prime time. So that really changed the past year. And from our perspective, it has not gotten into some of the repetitive details as much, but it has been a transformational situation within kind of the sales and knowledge side. So when we're talking about evaluating accounts, if we had a process where an insurance producer would take 5 or 10 hours to do very in-depth research on individual companies or industries, we've seen that where we can now have the baseline done in 3 minutes. And very important point here, that does not then replace their deep work after that, but it gives them a massive head start. So we have been able to cut just hours and hours and hours on every single one of those situations. And frankly, pulling things that, if they were not experienced in a certain sector or anything like that, they would never be able to get in 5 minutes, obviously, previously. So I think that's been the biggest leap forward on the retail side. But we'll talk about this in some of the other situations later. It also brings with it some of the risk and making sure people understand that everything they get from AI is not going to be necessarily true or used in the proper way. So, but it's been a transformational, 6-12 months on the retail side.
Absolutely, Rob. So it looks like you kind of are seeing improvement in how you can close more accounts or increase your sales with some of these early research and kind of like the work that you do for a client, basically, right? So yeah.
Absolutely. And right now we're still in that transitional phase where a lot of the clients have not seen the products and the reports and everything you're able to create. So the common refrain the last 6 months is my people were out there. It's just, I mean, they're just blown away. Like I've never seen reports like this. So it's trying to take advantage during this period of time before it becomes mature. And yeah, it's been really, really fun on the retail side.
Makes sense. Yeah. John, how about you? I mean, you've been dealing, I mean, you come from a legal background. How are you seeing sort of the value that AI is delivering? Yeah.
Well, I think we're appropriately cautious in relying on it, as Rob said. I think the early uses have been good at helping deal with boring, repetitive tasks, at writing emails, and as Rob also mentioned, learning about topics, doing cyber related insurance or all sorts of technical issues that I'm constantly working at getting up to speed in, as are my colleagues. So it's not unusual for me to ask our AI to explain something to a 12-year-old so that I can grasp it and get at least a baseline level of knowledge about highly technical matters.
Makes sense. Yeah. And Ravi, can you talk about from your perspective at CRC or like, how have you seen the AI deliver the most value in the life cycle today? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to Rob's point, I mean, it's still early days, but one area we're entertained in for sure is kind of John hit it a little bit and Rob hit it a little bit is the automated application process. Like, what are repetitive manual tasks that we can minimize with the human in the loop, but also enhance and free up their bandwidth so they can focus on customer service, strengthening your customer relationships instead. So in our world, we're currently entertaining like think clearance. A submission comes in from our retail broker, we got to clear it, make sure all our brokers have clean line of visibility to that. And then not only just clear it, but now we're also entertaining data extraction, right? So how can we also put in the key exposure data elements to these so then we can make quoting a lot more efficient when we seek multiple quotes from multiple carriers. The idea is to help and essentially become a buddy as opposed to a replacement. It's allowed to use AI as an aid more than a replacement opportunity. So we're certainly entertaining that in our space here. And then I think John also mentioned, I mean, I'm seeing more and more people at individual levels at their discretion using tee up emails or summarizations of meetings and conferences that they've attended. So it's given a huge helping hand where it's like, oh, hey, what was that thought? They're taking away the ability to have to take notes on your own and they're doing it for you. So it's a great assistance in that sense. So you're getting some small but big time wins across the board.
Absolutely, yeah. And Joey, any thoughts there?
Yeah, I will say Ravi just kind of hit on something that has made a big impact on me personally. Having like Teams Premium or like an AI note taker can save a lot of time, and it does a pretty good job with it. But like John and Rob as well, we've got to be really cautious about using it to become knowledgeable about a specific client or a subject very quickly. It's good in that regard, and it can cut down on a lot of time. But Rob, like you said, I mean, sometimes it gives you things that are simply not true. Quick example: trying to learn a lot about one specific client, AI tells you that, oh, they had a building burned down over here and it cost them $100 million, and it links it to an article. You pull it up and it's just a small kitchen fire that got put out in 10 minutes in the article. So I just got to caution everybody about over reliance on AI, which is a huge risk. Without that human in the loop, human oversight factor, we can run into problems.
Absolutely, absolutely. So John and Joey, you guys advise maybe a lot of clients on kind of like different like risks with AI and so on. So how are you seeing sort of the adoption that companies are trying to do? Are they trying to mostly leverage it internally, or are they trying to sort of now like expose some of the AI tooling externally to their clients? Or like, is it still experimental, or are they starting to like weave AI into these workflows at scale?
John, you want to go or you want me to start?
Well, I'll start. We're seeing the full gamut. Still at early stages for many or most of our clients. Of course, those that are in the AI space are doing more as developers. For most clients, they're using AI either because they've developed it internally and or they've had it customized for them by an AI developer. And of course, a large part of what they're doing is strengthening their defenses because of the use of AI by attackers and other malicious actors. Right now, that's a big focus of the cyber insurance industry is how much better the attackers have gotten in their phishing and other methods to overcome, bypass, or otherwise get through companies' defenses.
Yeah, I would add to that. I think the large majority of organizations out there are likely kind of baby stepping. They're still very early days into their AI journey, getting an enterprise license for Copilot or ChatGPT or whatever it might be, and they're largely doing it for really basic administrative tasks like writing an email, analyzing a contract, things like that. Most people are likely not developing their own. If you just look at the market in general, they're likely purchasing a commercial model for it. So they're kind of baby stepping into it. There's a little bit of anxiety regarding the risks of AI adoption. So it always excites me whenever they're making hires for AI governance or they're starting a responsible AI function or ethical AI, something like that. It shows that they're taking this seriously. They're paying attention to the regulatory atmosphere and they want to do it the right way. I think that is going to be a trend that we're going to see continue in the future.
I'll just add to what Joey said. One of the risks that a lot of companies are dealing with is it's not silent or dark AI, but it's someone in your organization off using, their own model of choice for their work and not doing it through official channels. So you get the output of the AI without much awareness of its provenance or of its accuracy.
Makes sense, yeah. So that leads me to my other question, actually. So what have you all seen as the hardest barrier to adoption in your world, right? I mean, is it hallucination, as Joe you pointed out? Is it like trust in the data that is showing? Like, what is the barrier that you see for adoption to AI? Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to jump. Okay, so I would say the number one barrier is lack of skills in the workforce. Think about everybody on this call, think about your workforces and their ability to use AI to its fullest, their trust in it, their thoughts on whether or not the AI is going to replace them. A lot of people are not experts in crafting a really nice prompt for ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever it might be that go very simple and bad prompt in, bad output out. That's just kind of how it is. But lack of understanding of how to use AI to its fullest and a lack of skills basically in the workforce, I think is the number one barrier right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I kind of want to add to what Joe was saying. It's not just like the initial prompt as well that can be a barrier, but I also feel that sometimes the company may not be equipped to have AI assist them. It could be that they have their own data fragmentation that's going on in their own space. Like, their data quality is not up to par. They have this high ambition of AI, but
Mhm.
their own data is not a stimulant for that. So I also feel like that's also another barrier for some companies to enable themselves to get to that. That really comes with data management as a resolution.
You're 100% right. I think there's technical challenges for every organization to adopt this. It's lack of skills, it's technical challenge 100% for all of them as well. It's also increased regulatory requirements that executives are nervous about. How are we going to comply with international regulations that extend to us? All these state laws and regulations that are popping up. So there's a lot to it that people have to be aware of and manage too.
And that also gets into at the firm level. John mentioned the gamut you see, between firms that have done absolutely nothing versus a very mature adoption. I've seen a lot of our larger firms in the design space specifically that a lot of them have already formed a committee maybe in the last year. So tons of these firms out there have had a committee. The committee is probably like many other people bumbling around trying to figure out what their committee is actually doing to move them because the landscape continues to change, right? But I think that's kind of step number one. And then it ties into what Joey said. The real risk comes in with your people. So if they're going off on their own, and let's say they're using unpaid for AI, I heard a good speaker last year saying, if you're not paying for the AI, you are the product. They're using you. But so basically, that's part of what your committee should be doing is making sure that your organization is really clear on what you can and cannot do, because it gets really dangerous if people start just going off and doing their own AI on their own, unpaid for, especially platforms.
And there's another invisible element. I mean, how many companies are today doing adequate due diligence on their vendor risk to start with? Well, your vendors are using AI, so add that to the mix of how well have you vetted your vendors and assess the risks that they are introducing into your network and into your business. It just gets that much harder.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that brings to an interesting point, right? So AI is part of everyday tools now. We have kind of call assistants and so many different ways we can use AI. So how can we introduce it in a way that empowers the team rather than sort of making them like feel like they're getting replaced or getting left behind? Like, what are some of the things that you guys have seen that work with the teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think Rob might have like alluded to it in his earlier opening discussion, right? Where I think leaders gotta work with their sales force as AI as a buddy system, not necessarily a replacement. It's freeing up your time so you can focus on what you should be doing. So get rid of the tedious work, let AI assist you on that, but focus on going out and seeing your clients and rekindling old relationships that you've noticed that, hey, maybe your volume has gone down with, and you can go back to the market and go after that business again. Or on the flip side, on the carrier relationships, the same thing, like engage with the carriers in a much more meaningful way with the right level of analytics with AI assisting that. So there's a number of benefits. I feel that, if you view AI as an assistance and not a replacement, and you market that component of it, you'll probably get a lot more windfall, in my opinion.
So Robbie, to build on that, it's really interesting. I like telling the story within our organization. When people first get introduced, depending on who the person was, but I saw some really high anxiety. So what do you think their first thought was when you're rolling out this new AI product, right? Does this mean I'm losing my job? Right. And I told Sophie in my office I was gonna maybe mention her in a story today, but she was probably the most anxious about what that meant. And it was such a cool story because after we explained, first of all, this is not here to replace you. This is here to be, as you said, your buddy, your assistant, whatever you want to define it as, to amplify you, right? Not to replace you. And she went from being the most skeptical adopter in the company to having her own paid accounts and implementing it in her personal life and losing 50 pounds and doing all sorts of amazing things. So I think once you make people comfortable with it, and I think that's the most important point, because if your people don't trust it, you're gonna have lots of problems. So you're very clear on what that purpose is, and they might surprise you. So
There's a flip side to that, and it's a meta issue in our industry and in the world generally. There's a lot of studies and data out there about the impact of AI on learning. And so someone whose work I'm reviewing may have generated impressive outlook. How much is that person actually learned, and how much will that person retain of that knowledge going forward and be able to use it in freshly arising situations? That's a much harder question.
Yeah, I agree. There was a study on the human brain. It seems like it's getting smoother the more that we're relying on AI, if you know what I mean. It's kind of scary. But to kind of tag on something Rob was saying, if your organization is large enough that you've got, well, an HR department or an organizational development department or workforce development, whatever it might be, partnering with those people, like a committee, a governance committee for AI specifically, it's supposed to be cross-functional. It's not just supposed to be the IT people or the AI specific people. It needs to include legal. It needs to include risk management. It needs to include, in a lot of ways, the HR people as well. They specialize in employee communications and engagement with these people, doing a readiness assessment of their people, doing a cultural assessment of the organization to see are they ready, and what kind of steps do we need to take to ensure trust, uptake of the usage of it. Because I'll say, I mean, if you're just deploying AI just because everyone else is doing it, you're going to spend a lot of money and probably not see a lot of return. So doing that upfront work and ensuring that your people are ready for it will go a long way.
and being willing to invest in them, Joey, that's the big part afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Like you can give, 10 companies, 10 people, whatever you want to say, the same AI, and you're going to get outputs from those people. So the degree which you invest in them to teach them how to use it, as you mentioned earlier, right? Using this prompt versus that prompt. John, you also mentioned the 10th grade prompt or something, right? You got explain to me like a fifth grader, then a 12th grader, undergrad, grad school, PhD, right? That's always a nice way to go through it. So helping them understand that can just make a massive difference in what they're able to do with it, while always keeping the guardrails there, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. And I think talking about guardrails, and this is an interesting point where like we want to introduce AI to the teams, but Joey, to your point, we don't want them to sort of completely depend on rely on it. So if we bring it to insurance now, like what unique risk or exposures do AI kind of bring in insurance, right? Like from your experience, what have you all seen? Like what are some risks it brings in insurance?
So I guess I'll start with that. I mean, insurance is a broad term, right? So if you apply this to health insurance benefits type area, you've got AI making decisions, denying claims, denying coverage, denying a submission. Say you're a P&C underwriter. Increasingly required by law and regulations to have transparency and explainability in that process. If you're over relying on the AI and it denies a claim or whatever it might be, you better be ready to explain how that decision was made. And without, I can't stress it enough, human in the loop, human oversight is so important just for so many reasons, but it is now required in a lot of jurisdictions. So that's a huge risk. Over reliance. And then, okay, we see this, take it outside of this profession, in the legal profession. We see a lot of lawyers now using AI in their briefings, their filings with the courts, and it's putting in bunk data, filing court cases that never actually happened. And those court cases are getting thrown out the window because of it. You see carriers, brokers doing this. AI says this is covered, but actually it's not. That's a huge E&O risk. And it's also, I would say it's a reputational risk as well.
Yeah, no, I think, Joey, I want to add to that. I think you kind of hit a couple points that I would like to make as well. Is like sometimes the models, AI model, the one risk factor that people would have is like, will the model start being very discriminatory? Meaning, if you're trying to place a certain type of risk appetite with a carrier and it keeps choosing the same one over and over again, well, are you now looking at the best profitable outcome for your company, or are you looking for the best possible placement for your insured, the person buying the insurance? So that becomes a moral dilemma for companies because, like, yeah, we place it with these top three carriers, but if those same top three never circulate itself, are you getting the right deal for the client, not the right deal for you as a company? So it can become questionable from profits versus the right level of insurance placement for your insured as well. So that could be a little bit of a challenge for AI to tackle because, sort of the human in the loop may need to be stepping in to help make the right level of decision on some of those placements. But again, it's kind of what Joey said. It's like over over relying on it to do your job could get you into trouble down the road.
That also goes back to Joey's comment on the brain smoothing study, right? I mean, I think this is one of the, I mean, all seriousness, this is one of the giant risk, I think, as we look out, in the next X amount of years. A little quick tip for anyone in here. If you are solely or heavily relying on ChatGPT to write your emails, please note that we know the double dash means you're using ChatGPT to write your emails. So I have numerous contacts where I've noticed over the course of months, I don't receive an email from them without the double dash. Those people are presumably, smoothing their brains further, taking the ripples away because they're probably not thinking about their responses in real life. They're probably not using critical thinking. Where you're also going to see that is this massive gap between people, right? As far as the people who are retaining critical thinking and actually using AI, have it ask you questions, right? Is a great method there. Using it to make you think even more critical, the gap between you and the people that are double dashing their emails every time is going to grow at an exponential rate in the coming years. So, just have that one thing to take home today. If you're using ChatGPT, be aware we know you're using ChatGPT if we're seeing the double dash.
Isn't that what find and replace is for?
Replace with the comma, and then we'll just think you're using your brain,
Yeah, no matter how much instructions you give ChatGPT, it will still keep putting on dashes basically.
Loves it. It ignores your request to take it away.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I guess coming to kind of the real world applications across the insurance value chain, like, where have you all seen AI make a good kind of measurable difference so far? Agreed with the human in the loop, given all the discussions we have had around kind of risk and kind of the data that AI is providing. Where have you seen the biggest sort of impact in the insurance value chain so far? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest push that I'm hearing and potentially seeing as well is around the workflow improvements. I talked about it earlier, clearing submissions, it's like low-hanging fruit, but then improving upon just, hey, we're not going to clear it, but what can we do better and incorporate data extraction along that journey? Whereas that was something that was done manually by humans in the past. But then, complete reliance is also sometimes a no-go where we need to make sure that we're enabling AI to be part of our workflow, but we want to be nimble where we can intervene and still allow the human to go in and sort of quote unquote correct any misled inputs coming in as well. So there's still, it's still early days, Vishal, I feel, on that, but I'm seeing that. And then naturally, I haven't seen it very effective yet in our firm, but analytics has been a big piece where, like, looking for key drivers. Hey, what's driving our results this month or this quarter for reporting purposes? So, like, really within the wheelhouse of the finance department, specifically the financial planning analysis teams, just getting a head start in their analytics on month end or quarter end could be a huge push as well. But that's kind of what I'm hearing, workflows and analytics as a big. I'm not going to harp around the emails and notes, and we've all talked about that, but that's the easiest thing that's already ongoing. I think that's been the first adopted AI use case across the board. But
I'll add a coda to that. I mean, you mentioned, Ravi, note taking. I find it's really helpful at generating the follow-ups list that you should have after a meeting or after reviewing a bunch of emails. I mean, we all say like, oh yeah, we got to follow up about that. Somebody talked about this, and then you reach out to them after the meeting. I find it quite helpful in giving you a list of the things you got to follow up on and then actually helping get those done.
I think one thing I'll comment on here, if we're talking about real world current day applications, you have virtually an AI software that can accomplish almost all functions at this point throughout the insurance life cycle, whether you're talking about the agency, broker, carrier, claim side. But the big issue, and this will be the big question mark change, whatever happens the next few years, is how siloed it currently is, right? So you have all of these functions, but the question is, are you able to utilize them effectively? Obviously, you have, on the retail agency side, everything's running through your management systems, right? So I think the ability of all of these different functionalities, whether that's, answering your phones and being like a real live human AI bot, or issuing certificates of insurance or any RPA or robotic processing automation, any of those things, they're all great. But the big question is, how are we going to be able to make them effective by integrating them all together? I think that's going to be the real big test the next few years. And if we're able to do that well, that will take all of those processes and really transform the real life, impact.
So I'll take this more on a granular level or like a personal level, I guess. I find that it can be really helpful to use it as your assistant or as your buddy. As Ravi, I like that actually, the AI buddy, to kind of help round out your thought process for whatever it is that you're doing. Either you're creating a submission to underwriters or you're writing an email to a client or whatever it might be, not using it to outright just generate it and then you've got the M dash or the double dash and then it's obviously ChatGPT, but do that work yourself first and then ask, have I missed anything? What else should I be thinking about? You'd be surprised what it comes back with. Like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Let's delve into that a little bit further. And it can kind of help enhance whatever it is that you're trying to do. So take that as you will, but I think anybody could use that.
No, absolutely, Joey. And that's a great sort of point into kind of like, have you seen examples where AI has surfaced like insights or opportunities that a human may have missed initially, right? So are there any examples that you all can share where using AI, you were able to find something that a human may have not really missed it?
I would say there's a number of examples. I was about to build on what Joey said. You can use it within specific projects. I actually have it set up. So going back to speaking on how you can amplify your thinking with it. So I have different projects set up, right? So if you're talking leadership, insurance brokerage sales, any of that stuff. So you can set up rules within your different projects on what you're trying to accomplish on a high level. And then you can have different chats, right, for all the different topics. And what AI is really good at is strategy. So it hallucinates, quite more than we would like it to when you're getting into nuts and bolts details. But when you're talking strategy, AI is really, really strong. So that's something I would encourage everyone to kind of play around with a little bit if you have any sort of paid AI, once again, not on the free stuff. You can really start to enhance your own thinking, like Joey was talking about, at a level you probably wouldn't even imagine if you haven't tried it yet. But to circle it back to Vishal's question there, I would say my first example was kind of risk analysis of either an industry or a client, things of that nature. I would say the human brain, might know the 15 things it was supposed to catch, but it's really challenging it forever to catch the 15 things. That's why the pilot has the checklist. They've flown thousands, hundreds of thousands of hours, but they still have the checklist. So I would say in most detailed client situations that are more than a single item situation, it's going to catch things the human are going to miss. And that's why it's a great partner to have to amplify you up.
I think sometimes the rewriting ability of AI is underestimated. We're all working on this stuff all day, every day. It can be hard to talk intelligibly to normal humans about anything in this field. And the AI can be really good at rewriting something 10 different ways, to make it more understandable to a knowledgeable layperson or a risk manager who's not an expert in this particular element of security risk. I use it for writing all the time. You get stuck writing something, say, give me 10 different ways. I may not choose one way, but among the 10, I'll cobble together a better way of expressing something than I had done on my own.
That's a great point, John. Like sometimes you need like a way to relate a very complicated topic. We work in cybersecurity insurance, right? So sometimes that's very complicated for people who are not in that space. So explaining it in a way that they will understand and can relate to, AI has been really powerful for that.
And coming up with examples to sort of like, hey, come up with claim scenarios or come up with some scenarios and do the analysis and educate the users that way. I think that has been also very helpful actually. So yeah. What is like one emerging AI capabilities? I mean, we see like AI browsers coming out. There's a lot of chat about like AI agents. Like, what is one AI capability or innovation that you all are most excited about?
Starts issuing certificates of insurance.
If you had asked which one am I most nervous about, I would have 10 answers for you.
What are you most nervous about?
Go with that.
Yeah, I think there's agentic AI, where AI is literally out there performing it's doing something as opposed to generating a response back to you. It's booking your appointments, it's responding to emails, it's this, that. There's a lot of security and privacy issues regarding that. It kind of reminds me of the very first time I rode in a Waymo. I got a little nervous as the car started rolling, right? That's sort of what you would be doing to your own machines if we introduce something like model context protocol to the machines and it's performing actions on the computers. That makes me real nervous, but there is a lot of opportunity for that, for the AI to actually perform certain functions independently and in an automated way. So it's both exciting, but also a little nerve-wracking.
And I'll do a plus minus also. we've been working with this long enough, we all have, to be familiar with chain of thought prompting, very extensive, detailed prompts, and the AI is getting much, much better at doing more with less. And on the one hand, that makes it easier. On the other hand, from my perspective, again, it's less explainable. You know when you're giving detailed instructions, you have a better sense of how responsive the output is, how extensive it is. Now you just get output that might be as good or better, but you don't know what's behind it because you didn't articulate your own thoughts well enough to really know if that's addressing what you need.
Joey's comments on agentic AI, and I was kind of alluding to that with my certificate of insurance comment. But a few months ago, whenever the agentic was released on ChatGPT, right? I'll share this anecdotally. I did not see it with my own eyes, but I know there were a number of agents and brokers that took that and actually went out and got quotes using the agentic AI. So they gave it the information, as Joey said, which I'm sure it spurred quite a debate in a few forums on whether that was a secure and proper, usage by providing that client data and letting it go out into these various sites and get quotes. Allegedly, it did it and did it well enough. I think that's a preview of what, the coming years will be. But I think at the same time, yeah, being nervous as a cat about something like that, and probably rightfully so. A lot of potential issues that could come up when you're no longer controlling it whatsoever. So I think that'll be one of the big, which direction to go. Does this end up being secure and working really well? Does this cause some significant problems? We'll find out pretty soon.
Yeah, and I think it largely depends, Rob, on the specific use. Like having it go off and get quotes, it seems, what's the worst thing that could happen? Nothing's going to blow up from something like that, right?
Yeah.
But it's the data and agentic AI. It's like a chain of workflows to get from point A to point B and then back to point A. That it's not just ChatGPT. It's all of these different services connected by APIs, and then back over here where how are we confident in the security of that we're protecting our clients' data? That's the part that worries me the most.
And there's still a lot of integration and sort of work that has to be done, right? I mean, AI is not fully there that it can integrate into any of these tools just yet, basically. So there's a lot more that has to happen to get that level of automation as well. So yeah. So I guess coming to kind of the skills and mindset, like what do you believe are going to be like some important skills that people should start learning or kind of becoming familiar with to be relevant in a full AI automated shop, basically? What do you guys think are some top skills or the mindset that we need to have?
I mean, I think it was mentioned earlier. I think it's how to interact with AI. It's easy to say it uses human language, but it's like asking the right questions and sort of does AI really understand your question or not, and understand how to train on how to leverage it so it does facilitate your end goal. You could go in there and it's like, hey, what's the best market? But like that doesn't help answer the question. Be a little bit more creative in your approach to it. So I think in order for AI to be successful, to help you answer the question in its truest form, you need to know how to ask the right question. So really trying to help the users understand how to pitch that correctly it's a major stepping stone, I think.
And Rob, you mentioned that you give the same prompt to 10 people or same exercise to 10 people, and you might see like wildly different results. Like what have you seen the people that deliver good results do differently from other people? I guess that will give us some insights into what are they doing differently.
Yeah, so there's a core soft skill that existed before AI came about, right? And so that is understanding context, right? So emotional intelligence and understanding context has always been one of the great dividers, I think, in success with people, right? You could have someone that's extremely intelligent, but if they lack that understanding of context, that's going to kind of cap what they're able to do or produce, right? So I think that same skill set, you just move it over to AI, right? You ask the same question or even different prompts, and people are going to perceive that data. Something could clearly be false, but someone who does not have a great soft skill of understanding that context is just going to take the, oh, okay, this is the situation. They wouldn't know to challenge it. AI is really funny when you tell it it's wrong, and then it so politely apologizes to you each time. Ah, my apologies. I should have known that. And then it might tell you the second wrong answer, and you call it out again, and maybe you get it on the third try. But so I think that's one of the things, the skill sets that we had before AI existed are going to be the same skill sets that help people use it really well in the future. So it's still our same human brain skills that existed before. We just have to apply it to what AI is now outputting.
Can I jump on the context bandwagon for a moment here? What's interesting about the earlier comment, 10 people put in the same prompt and they'll get 10 different answers. Most of these models are maintaining context on that user. So it will often give you a response that's really bespoke to that end user, depending on how long they've been using it, what the history of the conversations have been with that user. Context, it's maintaining that context over time. And the longer you use it, it knows you very well.
True.
I'll add context in terms of what happens in the real world with your workforce, right? You can have all the best governance procedures and processes and lists. You have to know what happens to busy, overworked people under time pressure. And your rules may be that you have to check everything to a fairly well, or you go through these steps. But is that the reality of day-to-day practice in your organization and in the industry generally? And so, healthy skepticism about what's generated by the AI, I think, is important, and on how much the rules are being followed. I think we're all used to that. It's just going to be that much harder, I think, because it's going to be so enticing. In terms of time savings and the quality, the surface quality of the output will be that much better.
All right, we'll start to wrap it up with some quick rapid fire questions here. So, what is the best advice you all can give to an insurance professional who's nervous about AI?
The best thing I've heard is, you'll be able to be in the industry without it, but the really good people, the ones who are the best, are the ones who are going to know how to work with AI. It's not essential, but the best people will all know how to work with AI because it'll just make them better.
Yeah, I was going to echo John's comment. I mean, it's a collaborative partner, and you really need to think of it as a partner to enable your workflow.
Use AI to teach yourself how to use AI. So I think that's the simplest thing there. It is there to help you help yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to steal this from a conference I was at recently, but just start. Just start somewhere. And the more you do it, the more familiar you'll be with it, the better you'll get at it. But just start.
Absolutely. One last rapid fire question. So, if you could automate like one of your daily kind of thing that you do on a day-to-day basis tomorrow, like what would it be?
I mean, in my world, there's two areas. From an analyst perspective, like if you're a financial analyst or a data analyst, hey, create this dashboard for me, and I just explain to you what I'm trying to build. It goes out and does it for me, instead of me having to go find a developer to do it for me. And then we can save that, and we put it on the shelf and come back to it every month. It'll be a major time saver. From a sales perspective, it's literally, how can you improve your workflows throughout the journey? So that's kind of where I am.
I already mentioned ours. If you deal on the retail side in the world of construction, certificates of insurance are the bane of your existence. So there you go. Lots of challenges and nuances to go with that, but that's the high level.
I'll say scheduling. very busy lately with calls, meetings, travel, etc. A thoughtful AI assistant scheduling for me.
And I'll go back to staying on top of things and appropriate action steps and follow-ups through the avalanche of emails and other inflows of information and things you have to do.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, everyone. We covered a lot today, but I guess the theme was consistent that AI is not about replacing people. It's actually a force multiplier who want to learn it, who want to adapt it, basically. And I think the winners will be firms with not the best models, but firms with which have the best trained people that use it with discipline and intent, basically, right? So, as Rob said, like, use AI to teach yourself AI and sort of start kind of using it. With that, like, thank you, Rob. Thank you, Ravi. Thank you, John. Thank you, Joey. You got a lot of depth to this conversation, like in terms of how you guys have seen AI adopt your own workflows on a day-to-day basis, and really kind of enjoyed hearing your perspectives today. So thank you. Damien, over to
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yes, what a great panel discussion today, guys. Thank you all for joining. I just wanted to um, lend an opinion as well. It was stated on the discussion in regards to utilize the proper usage of AI. For me, I agree. I think it definitely should be used as a secondary source and not a primary to decrease the smoothness of the brain, as Joey mentioned earlier on the call. So I definitely like that. But we have about 10 minutes left within this panel discussion, and I wanted to take a look at the chat to see if we had any questions from the audience that we wanted to maybe propose to the panelists, maybe some last minute questions or that they would like to have answered, or any points that they would like to make. I look at the chat, I see there was a comment made by Alexander Rostek where it was stated that they refused to stop using the M dashes after 20 years just because the computers like them. So that was the comment that was made.
So it may not be ChatGPT. Duly noted. Duly noted moving forward. So.
Right. No, I like that. I'll leave maybe about another minute for questions, but we have one. It came from Ed Combs. What AI tool would you start with?
So, sorry guys, I would say whatever your company has purchased an enterprise license for and has put in the appropriate security controls in that, start with that one. But if we're talking in our personal lives, we want to learn how to fix our lawnmower kind of deal, which is a common use for that kind of thing. ChatGPT is good. If you're going to be doing really, really technical work, you want to create your own application for something, Claude from Anthropic is amazing. But ChatGPT honestly will do 99% of everything that any of the other models will do.
You need to invest the $20 for that version.
You do need to do that.
We did a whole presentation on when we were trying to get the adoption on how you get the return from your $20 investment. Our numbers were pretty astronomical. So, afford a copy if needed. No.
Yeah, it always depends, right, Joey? Like, what are you actually trying to leverage the AI tool for? Is it workflow? Is it personal use? I use ChatGPT just to with my kids, just put up goofy pictures. But like, the question really should be expanded to understand like, what are you really trying to solve? I mean, if you're trying to understand workflow, if you do analytics, I mean, you got Vishal right here. Ask him away. He's got his version of software out there that you can leverage for analytics if you like.
True. And to expound a little bit further on your point, Ravi, I mean, I have kids on my own, and it's even trickling down to their level of education as well within middle school and in colleges also. So again, I allow them to utilize AI, but again, as a secondary source, I want them to try themselves first and utilize it as something to compare it to, and maybe generate some additional ideas that can help you kind of expound a little bit further on what you're trying to present. I know this topic is specific to workplace, but I definitely wanted to mention even outside of the workplace, it is trickling down to even at the adolescents at the younger level also. So being on top of that and ensuring that they're utilizing it properly, or even how to know how to utilize it, I think is definitely something to consider also as well. So
One more comment to add to that. If there is a work situation and it's, work is only giving you Copilot, but you've discovered some other product out there, all I would say is before you just purchase your own license, run it up through the proper channels to get that reviewed and hopefully approved for your use. It'll save you a lot of grief in the future.
yeah, good point.
I mean, everybody of us here uses Google, and they have now introduced AI in every Google search you do as well. So you may basically we are all using AI, right? We might not need to do the tool. We are all using AI when we do that Google search now. They are kind of making sure that everybody is sort of getting the AI first results now. So yeah.
Great point. We had another question come in through the chat from Skyla B. Kind of a controversial question. What is your percentage on the amount of water usage AI requires?
Opinion?
Perception.
Oh, perception. I'm sorry. What is your perception on the amount of water usage AI requires?
Yeah, I have read an article. I didn't really read much further beyond it, but it suggested that each and every time you do a prompt or ask it a question, or every single time, it's like dumping a bottle of water onto the ground. Very recently, Mr. Altman came out and said it's been dramatically reduced or it's much smaller. But I think the reality is that it does use a lot of energy. It does have an impact on the environment, and hopefully the industry is taking the proper steps to correct that, because it's making a big impact.
And I think Altman also came out and said, stop saying please and thank you, because that requires more energy cycles for the AI models to deal with. So,
well, but John, when they take over, they'll know that I'm a polite person and they'll look more kindly.
They'll spare you, Joey.
Yeah. Good luck to you.
Okay, we had another question filter in through the chat from Andrew. It says, as someone preparing to enter the workforce, I've noticed how fast AI tools are changing every few months. How do you professionals in your organization stay ahead? Is it more about formal training, hands-on learning, or just adapting as new technologies come out?
So yeah, there's this thing called acceleration risk, which is essentially the models, the technology is developing at a pace in which our lawmakers, regulators, risk managers are simply unable to keep up. They're constantly releasing new updates, new features, new uses for this kind of thing. I would say, personally, I'm doing research on my own time just because I nerd out about this stuff and I'm interested in it. That's my way of staying on top of it. If you do have an interest, there are lots of videos, blogs, different resources online where you can learn about this stuff and keep up and keep pace.
I'll say something in the nuance of that question. How do you stay ahead? You could make an argument that staying ahead might be getting really good and consistent with the tools that are stable and you know how to use them well. So while it's good to be aware of all the shiny new toys that are out there, same thing I said earlier, just like the pre-AI world, someone who's really effective at the stuff that they know and works is still going to outperform someone who is chasing all of the shiny objects, right? So I would say, we mentioned this a number of times on the call, you are absolutely correct. It's changing at a lightning pace. So therefore, be aware of it. Know what's happening, know what might be coming down the pipeline, but continue to focus on the tools that are ingrained and stable, and just get really good at those. And that's how you're going to stay ahead while you keep your mind open about the other stuff coming down the pipeline.
And, I would say for someone just starting out, using it for your own education about topics relevant to your day-to-day job. And then, Googling to check the veracity of what it tells you, you're still come out ahead if you ask AI for the first pass and then check the accuracy of what it tells you on your own time. I do that all the time. I Google things I get back from AI to find if it's from a recognizable and respected source.
John, I want to share something we talk about a lot internally, a ton. I continue to say triangulate the data. 10 minutes of GPS, okay? Triangulate the data. So it tells you something, go find two other sources to confirm what you're being told is right. So we talk about that a lot.
But it can be a great learning tool if you do that, right?
That's
It
awesome.
shapes your learning.
Yeah. Great job from everyone on the panel. We want to thank you guys for participating in this discussion this morning. Vishal, thank you for moderating the panel discussion as well. This actually concludes the discussion on artificial intelligence within the workplace, and we would like to transition into our breakout room until our next panel discussion starts at 10:15. Thank you all.
Thank you.